Hey everyone, welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor. We are going to talk about The Exorcist Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Chapter 2, Lupus and Fabula, which I'm assuming
Okay.
is Latin.
Was a reasonable assumption.
Yeah, I'm just, given that the demons tend to talk in Latin when they're saying, biblical things about, killing the planet and so on.
It's a very demonic thing, isn't it? Just throw it in Latin. That'll do the trick.
Tends to be Latin. Yeah, you could literally say, I'm wearing underwear with yellow smiley faces on it in Latin, and it would come across as threatening.
Exactly.
So, same with I find Japanese. If you get a kind of old Japanese man to scream something in Japanese, it doesn't matter what it is. It sounds like he's angry and he wants to.
Maybe, but I guess that's because most of the time you see anything Japanese, it's horror.
That's not true.
For you?
Well, okay, it's horror or samurai movies, and they tend to be quite angry in samurai movies too.
Yeah.
To be fair, sure,
I don't know,
but
because I watch a lot of anime and I don't get that.
but that's because anime is all about like the little kiddie voices because they all sound like preteens.
No, I don't. Some do.
Yeah, they do.
Nah,
They do. Let's be honest.
they really don't. You clearly haven't watched enough anime. Need to educate you.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine being ignorant on this one. Anyway, we've got on a tangent about how angry certain languages sound. Uh, so anyway,
German sounds angry.
German does sound angry. Not as not to say that there's not soft-spoken people in both Japan and Germany who sound
It's
much
not.
more calm.
It just
But
German is a very harsh language. It's very guttural.
if you speak in those languages loudly, it tends to sound angry because they're hard noises. But anyway, we're going way off track. Full spoilers. I don't know if I said that before we got into that tangent, but full spoilers now for the episode 2. That was a giant set of Jenga.
It was massive. I mean, we had some giant Jenga in student accommodation, and that was big, but we were in a room that was like 5 or 6 times that.
I have
That was
never,
big for that room.
I have never played a bigger set of Jenga than the typical size, which is
Oh, giant Jenga is way funnier because people run out of the way when it falls.
obviously, yeah. I get the appeal, and I kind of like I never want to play anything other than giant Jenga now. But I'm used to it just being about that tall at
Yeah.
first, and it obviously gets taller as you're putting bits on top. But you know,
Aye, the little
nah, the little
blobs that
bits.
size, yeah.
Whereas this was like big chunky things like that size.
Aye.
Thing was huge. But anyway, the episode as a whole wasn't as strong as the first one. I would say it did have some good moments though, and it did obviously build some of the world building and stuff that's going beyond what the Exorcist movie did. Like, which I feel is necessary because if we're going to be 13 or 22 episodes, it has to have a bit more going on.
I agree. It's stuff that, while isn't as overtly interesting or as appealing, it's necessary to set this up as soon as you can if you want this
Yeah.
to survive as a TV show.
And I would say I was very not interested in the homeless man stuff. But then until they revealed what more was going on with them at the end, and I was like, all right, okay, this is a bit more interesting because
Yeah.
this is a bit more big and grandiose. I think because when I think of homeless people being involved in like something satanic, I think of Prince of Darkness, and I really like them in that. But here it felt a little bit goofier, especially since I didn't mind him last week when he was just sort of standing across the street and like just staring. But this week when he actually came in and talked to Casey and said
Is it when he
something,
was like, "I want to touch you,
yeah, I want to touch you.
like let me touch you" and
Yeah.
stuff? It's
Stranger
like, okay.
danger, folks. Stranger danger.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
should have a rape whistle.
Aye, aye. She might do. That's
She might.
It's a pretty common thing for people to have. Well,
Yeah,
women
it's
to
just
have.
maybe she should have blown the rape whistle. I mean, I know there was people around, but
Yeah, she was like
it might scare him off.
she was practically touching shoulders with other people. I think she was in a safe
Still
place.
might scare him off.
But yeah, so that whole thing happens. But anyway, so the moments I want to talk about, go back to the Jenga. The moment that I really liked in the Jenga was when Casey, like, kind of gets up and like almost like taunts the mother with the power, like.
It's when she you can kind of see her through the Jenga, like holding it
Yeah,
up.
you can see her eye through the
And-
Jenga
And then
piece.
after it falls, and she just kind of smiles.
Yeah, she's doing that creepy thing again, and that actress has been doing really well with this creepy, look like when I'm being evil thing. Like she's doing a
Yeah.
good job of that. So I really appreciated that. That was a really cool moment. And obviously, the other big moment with her is when she drinks the holy water and she sort of like fights it to not reveal herself, and then runs upstairs to puke. And the what's the name of one of those things?
Like a centipede?
Was that a centipede? I thought a centipede,
Sort
but
of. I don't know. Millipede?
yeah, I think it's more of a millipede than a centipede. I feel like centipedes are more colourful.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. Some sort of bug with lots and lots of legs.
Aye, long bug with lots of legs, one of those. And she pulls that out of her throat, and it was disgusting. It was like, oh, this is gross
It's
out horror.
it's the exact sort of disgusting stuff I want to see on this show. Do you know what I mean, though?
Sure.
It's like it was disgusting. It was like, but that's the sign they're doing it right.
Aye,
Like
maybe.
if it just because otherwise it just comes off as looking cheap and oh okay, and it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
work.
yeah.
But it looking disgusting is exactly it means they're doing it right. It's what I want to see.
Yeah. It was convincing and disgusting. Yes, they nailed that, which was great. But obviously, there's a lot more stuff going on with Casey at her lacrosse game. One of these stupid sports that I don't believe really exists. I just see it in the odd movie or TV show and go, huh.
Yeah,
Sure,
It's- I don't-
sure. This is fiction. This isn't real.
yeah.
People don't throw balls at each other in these little net
It
things.
particularly doesn't help when one of the biggest things I've seen in as a regular basis is Archer, and that's so ridiculous and over the top anyway that it makes it feel even less real.
Honestly, the only thing that comes to mind when I think of lacrosse, and the only reason why I know the name of lacrosse, is American Pie, of all things,
Yeah, fair enough.
because that's what one of the guys in that played.
Yeah.
Sure. And don't take us joking about lacrosse too seriously, folks, please. But anyway, just in case you're a big lacrosse fan, and I already pity you enough without.
Look. Lacrosse is as real as Quidditch. It exists, kind of, but it's just there in a corner somewhere in America for no real reason.
But aye, so Casey's playing a game of I almost said Quidditch. She's playing a game of lacrosse, and she's she's got the snitch, the golden snitch, and she's running towards the end because I think they get a touchdown or something in lacrosse. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
no clue.
All I know is that they hold sticks with little nets and they catch the ball.
Yeah.
It may not even be a ball. It could be a shuttlecock for all I know.
Wow, we really know nothing about lacrosse.
Oh god. And it's obviously French. With a name like that, it comes from France. It must do.
It has to, yeah.
So I don't get why Americans are playing it, but whatever. So she's got the golden snitch, and
Aye.
she's running, and this girl tackles her, and I say tackles her, she just hits her with, she hits her on the leg, and it's like a clear foul, but the referee's just having none of it, and I'm like, I don't even know this sport. I've clearly just shown you that I know nothing about this sport.
You've been pretty confident that should have been a foul.
Yeah, that was a foul. The referee should have been on that. But anyway, so she sees this. He's in the credits as a salesman. This salesman is what he's listed as in the credits. But he's this old guy in a suit, and immediately I'm getting the impression that he's not really there. Like I can just tell that from the way the camera's kind of lingering on him and the way that he's sitting near her sister in the stands. But it's being creepy, and then she stares at the girl as she's running, and she's just standing still. Casey's just standing still as this girl's like playing the game further up the pitch, the field. And our leg just snaps, And I'm like, oh right, okay, right, we're setting up some like demonic powers here that we're getting to.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
But yeah, that was good fun. But then of course later on in the episode when she's sitting outside, this salesman casually walks in the gate, sits down next to her, and they start having a conversation like she knows her, like he knows her, like she knows him, both ways, and she puts her head on her shoulder and she's like telling him about what's happening and what's going on, and this thing in the game where she's like, oh, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but I think I might have snapped this girl's leg. It cuts away before you hear her finish, but that's what she's telling him.
Yeah.
And you see, was it the sister looking outside or the mum? It was the mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mum's looking outside and she sees her sort of like with her head on this imaginary shoulder. And of course, and that's a good point. We also start with a recording of her talking to herself, but it's in like a demonic man voice at the start of the episode. So the mother's getting ample evidence here. She's seen a lot of activity that's saying to her something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And of course, not the head of the church, but Tomas' superior, whatever his job title is.
Bishop or archbishop, probably.
Yeah, one of those. Manager of church.
Bishop. He's a bishop.
Bishop. There you go. He just sort of poo-poos it. Oh, she's get therapy. He's blocking the whole thing. Don't want to just dive into exorcisms and all that nonsense. Is basically his attitude. Also, the Pope's coming to town.
Why not?
Yeah. And they've got posters advertising it. He's coming.
It's very cheesy posters there.
Yeah, it's like a movie. It's for like Superman or something. Like he's coming. Or
yeah.
It's weird, but sure. So that's all happening. Marcus and Tomas have some scenes, and Marcus is like sort of invaded his privacy and being like, one of the big things about an exorcism is that if you have anything you're shameful about or any weaknesses when you're in there, the demon will exploit that and it'll fail because of you. So he mentions this, we heard in the last episode that he had this woman named Jessica that he kind of had a thing with, that he was sending letters to, but he shouldn't be because she's married, so there's a grey area. And he was kind of justifying it to his sister, but it wasn't quite,
Yeah, wasn't very convincing.
It wasn't very convincing. And we actually meet her in this episode, and he has a scene with her, and it's like he's about to break it off and tell her that he can't see her anymore, but she has this moment where she admits that she's not really happy with her marriage and touches his hand, and it's like he doesn't go through with it, and it's obviously setting up that conflict that he's going to have to sort his stuff out before he tries an exorcism, because
it's the idea that he's going to have to do personal sacrifice to save other people.
Yeah. So that's that. Meanwhile, Marcus is investigating the homeless people because he's sniffing it out.
Aye, he's on to things, that one.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we also get a flashback of him as a kid. He was being groomed as a exorcist at a young age. The church was making him go and talk to demonic possessed people.
Yeah, they threw him in with one at age of 12.
Aye. Well.
I did like when he said, "Oh, were you?" Because he says to Tomas, "Oh, when the girl was there and you saw her like that, were you scared?" He's like, "Yeah, obviously." He goes, "I just felt relief because now the idea that now he knows that it is real and that it's not all a waste of time."
Yeah, because if demons exist, then some form of God and angels must exist too. Yin and yang, they both have to kind of coexist.
Yeah.
So no, that's a very good point. And also, we find out that he watched his father murder his mother when he was a kid, which is pretty dark.
Presumably possessed.
Possibly, yeah. I never even thought of that, but you may be right.
I just assume so for some reason. I mean, it'd be darker if not. But I assume he was possessed, and that's why the church buys him. Like he's had first-hand experience of possession.
Maybe. I almost just took it as a less direct thing, more like, oh, he's went through this traumatic thing, so he has more of a chance of having the touch, as it were.
Yeah, I get it.
Not to make it sound like he's that outcast, he has an actual physical touch, but you know what I mean. He'll have the skills to deal with this and get good at this. So yeah, let's talk about the big ending, which I did not see coming, because throughout the episode we're following this teenage kid riding a bike, listening to his music, and we see him a couple of times, just randomly almost, just throughout, just punctuating the episode. And I had no idea where this was going, because obviously by the time we see him a second time, it's like, okay, obviously they're...
First time it's just a scene cut.
Yeah, it's just
establishing stuff.
A transition to present day again after the flashback or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we see him again, I'm like, okay, right, this is obviously building to something, I have no idea what. And he goes home, and it's actually a really well done scene. Where he walks in, and then we see it from the other angle that presumably his dad is sitting there dead with just tons of blood, and he's got his headphones on so he doesn't hear anything, and his mother's struggling away from one of the killers, and she gets her throat slit. And
pretty savage.
And then there's a brother or a sister in another room dead, and then one of the killers comes up behind him just as he's realising what's going on and stabs him in the neck. And yeah, it's really savage. And then it cuts to one of them taking out the organs, all the vital organs and intestines of this one of the corpses, and putting it in a container, a freeze box.
Yeah.
And it comes outside, and that's when it gets really wacky, because you see people just like him. This one of these guys is the homeless guys from earlier, and we see them get into this truck earlier on as well, and we see all these people who are presumably also homeless, or if not homeless, at least other possessed people, coming out of all these houses on this street and get into this truck with their presumably all with organs from these different people. I guess for some sort of ritual, I imagine. My only complaint about this, and it's a small inconsistency, I would say, is it cuts to... This is the end of the episode, but the actual last scene is it cuts to Father Marcus, and he's watching the news, and he hears about this on the news.
Yeah.
And the newscaster says there was 9 dead bodies, and I was like, wait a minute, there was at least 4 from that one house, and we see at least half a dozen other people come out of different houses.
Did they say 9? I didn't catch that. But
yeah, they say there's nine bodies, and I'm like, it feels like there's... Now, okay, 4 in that, if there was another 6...
that would be 10.
That's still too many, even if there's only 1 per house. But, you'd have to assume that some of them would have at least a couple.
Yeah.
So that number was a bit off, but it's not a big deal, obviously.
I mean, unless it's underreported to
True. They
make it seem less severe than it is.
Either that, or they might literally, the police might not have searched more houses yet. It could be just
could
early.
be an ongoing development, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's explanations for it. It's just,
It does feel like we're writing them out of it, though, here.
Yeah.
Which we shouldn't have to be doing.
True. And it ends in a very ominous, on that poster, the Pope's coming. And it made me wonder if, like, is this the demons, like, preparing for his visit? Like, they're, they're going to do something to him, or, like, some sort of...
Oh, man, are we about to watch a papal assassination attempt? Those are always fun.
Especially when it's the army of not the undead, the army of the... Satan? Army of Darkness?
How do they get through the Pope-mobile? I mean, you've seen the Pope-mobile, right?
I've seen it,
So how do even demons get through that?
They don't need to. It's not about firing a bullet or anything like that. It's about doing a satanic ritual, and the energy of the satanic ritual
it'll just make him drop. Okay. You'd think, though, to be honest, if it's a Pope-mobile, he'd have blessed it to defend against such things.
We see the Father Marcus uses the cross against that homeless person. It does nothing.
It does nothing, yeah. I actually really like that. I really like just the way it was like holding it closer, and the homeless person was just getting closer and closer and taunting him with it.
Yeah, do you know what line in that scene I really, really liked? It was a really good callback to the movie, because if it says the line, "The power of Christ compels you," everyone thinks of that line.
Yeah.
There's 2 lines you think of when you think of The Exorcist. One is, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell," and the other is, "The power of Christ compels you." And I love that the response is, from the demon, the possessed person, is, "I don't feel that compelled."
I thought it was, "Do I look compelled?"
Yeah, well, whatever it was, but it was responding to it with, "Do I look compelled?" Like,
yeah.
It was flipping it, and it was like, yeah, that don't work no more. This is 2016. We've gotten better at this, us demons.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a bit of a meta commentary as well. It's like, yeah, look, we know that was fine back then.
Yeah.
But now we gotta do more to keep this fresh.
Now, I will say, if I have a criticism on the episode as a whole, and not even the episode, it's more just a general criticism of the series potentially, is that by bringing in this army of homeless people kind of thing, and bringing the fact that there's multiple demons, and they seem to have some sort of plan, much like Outcast, where there's some sort of end goal, is that it does lose a bit of the mystique that the first episode, and especially the film, had, where you feel like it almost feels random, and that's scarier as a result.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's the lack of that it could just happen to anyone, and there's no reason. The idea that there is a plan in motion is, I mean, it could build to be scarier depending on how it's pulled off, but as a core idea, it feels like less is more, almost.
Yeah, it's potentially fun, but it loses some of that. What made The Exorcist so chilling kind of goes away.
Yeah, the idea that it could just happen to someone in your family like that.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's like, well, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah. So, now we'll see how it progresses. Still enjoying it though. So
definitely.
That's the main thing. So let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Look out for all the other stuff that's going up over the next few days. We're working our way through Luke Cage, if you've noticed all the videos of that going up. So that's our weekend pretty much filled. So yeah, keep watching TV, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.